to observe the meeting may do so at mountainview.legistar.com or on YouTube at mountainview.gov/YouTube or on Comcast Channel 26. As noted in the meeting agenda, members of the public may provide oral public comments during the public comment sections of the meeting for an item that is up that they can sign up to speak at mountainview.gov/EPC_speakers. Emails and voice messages received by 5 p.m. today were forwarded to the EPC. All votes will be taken by roll call vote. Now I'll ask Clerk Horan to proceed with the roll call.
Commissioner Capriles.
Here.
Commissioner Haymeyer.
Here.
Commissioner Dempsey.
Here.
Commissioner Schmiesing.
Here.
Commissioner Yin.
Here.
Vice Chair Lowe.
Here.
And Chair Cranston.
Here. Okay. First item on our agenda is the approval of minutes from previous meetings. We'll be discussing the minutes from the meetings from February 3rd, 2021, March 3rd, 2021, and March 17th, 2021. Are there any edits or changes that the EPC has identified that they'd like to see to any of the minutes? Vice Chair Lowe.
Thank you, Chair. I noted a minor typo in the March 17th minutes. Item 5.1. I think Green Streets MV should read Green Spaces MV for Mr. Bruce England and Ms. April Webster.
Okay. Any other changes you've done? Unless anybody has any concerns with that. Seeing none. We'll accept that. And then Commissioner Capriles.
In the same March 17th minutes, the organization next to David Watson, I believe there was just a bit of a reverse on the organization he was in. It's supposed to be YIMBY, not Y or YMBI. So that's just a minor correction.
Okay. Any other edits to March 17th or February 3rd or March 3rd? And can I have a motion to approve the three as amended with amendments for the March 17th meeting? Commissioner Haymeyer.
Sure. I move to adopt the February 3rd and March 3rd meeting minutes as submitted and the March 17th meeting minutes with minor adjustments to the public comment and as stated by my colleagues before.
Commissioner Capriles?
I second that.
Good. Then Planner Horan, can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Capriles.
Aye.
Commissioner Haymeyer.
Aye.
Commissioner Dempsey.
Aye.
Commissioner Schmiesing.
Aye.
Commissioner Yin.
Aye.
Vice Chair Lowe.
Aye.
And Chair Cranston.
Aye. So those have been approved. Item 4 on the agenda is oral communications from the public. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the EPC on any manner not in front of the EPC on the agenda this evening. Speakers are allowed to speak on any topic for up to 3 minutes during this section. State law prohibits the Commission from acting on any non-agendized items. Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on any non-agenda items? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. Users can mute and unmute themselves using *6. Clerk Horan will start the timer and let you know when your time is up. Any people wishing to speak?
I am seeing none.
Okay. Seeing none, then we will close oral communications. The next item on the agenda is item number 5, is a review of the Council Strategic Roadmap and the 2020 General Plan Progress Report. There'll be a staff presentation from Brittany Whitehall, Associate Planner.
Thank you, Chair Cranston. I'm going to go ahead and screen share now. All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Great. Apologies, technical difficulties. I'm going to retry that screen share. Great, thank you. So good evening, commissioners. My name is Brittany Whitehill, and I am joined tonight by Principal Planner Eric Anderson. The item in front of you consists of an overview of the city's new council goal setting process called the Strategic Roadmap, and an annual review of the city's General Plan Action Plan, known as the General Plan Annual Progress Report, or APR. This item will be presented in 2 parts. First, we will give an overview of the new strategic roadmap process. Next, we will review progress made on the general plan during 2020. Following the presentation, we will ask the EPC to provide input on their top choices of potential priority projects that were identified by City Council. The city is currently engaged in a strategic planning and visioning process with consultant assistance from civic makers. This process will result in a strategic roadmap that describes a vision of where the city strives to be in the next 3 to 5 years. The roadmap will also include an achievable multi-year work plan of the critical projects to accomplish the strategic priorities and vision. This plan will replace the City Council Major Goals Work Plan. This strategic planning and visioning process differs from the city's past process of setting major goals in that it includes more extensive community, city council, and staff engagement, and is designed to establish strategic priorities aligned with the city's vision and a work plan aligned with the city's available staff capacity and resources. So the strategic roadmap process includes several steps. On February 6th, the City Council held a meeting regarding the city's vision, mission, and strategic priorities. Throughout February and March, civic makers engaged the public and city staff to seek input regarding the city's mission, vision, and strategic priorities. And based on this input, draft vision and mission statements were presented at the March 16th City Council Strategic Planning Workshop. On March 16th, Council also discussed consideration of how the existing major goals and projects would proceed into next fiscal year, and how previously deferred projects and potentially new projects could fit into the city's new strategic priorities. Today, the EPC will be asked to provide feedback on the most important potential projects identified by Council. By action of the EPC as a whole, by either consensus or majority, the EPC should provide input about which potential projects are most important. Throughout March and April, other advisory bodies will be providing input on the potential project list as well. And on April 27th, the City Council will hold a study session to review the draft project list, which will also include input from advisory bodies. In preparing the draft list, staff will make recommendations based on feasibility and capacity to accomplish projects with available resources. And finally, in June, the City Council will consider final adoption of the strategic plan, which will include a project work plan. With that, we are going to shift gears and discuss the General Plan Action Plan. In 2012, the City Council adopted the 2030 General Plan with the related General Plan Action Plan. The 2030 General Plan Action Plan is a list of action items that carries out the General Plan's goals and policies. These action items include programs, plans, studies, ordinance updates, and other measures. The EPC is responsible for the annual review of the General Plan Action Plan and for monitoring implementation of the General Plan. This year, staff has provided 3 tables of General Plan action items for the EPC's review. Table 1 includes items which have not yet been started, are currently in progress, or were completed during 2020. Table 2 includes items that were completed prior to 2020. And Table 3 includes items that are achieved through day-to-day operations, practices, and policies. Last year, the EPC reviewed the status of 163 General Plan action items and suggested continuing to work towards completion of existing priorities. Since last year's update, several items have been completed. These items include several mobility-related items related to vehicle miles of travel, impact analysis, and updated performance metrics, execution of a sewer discharge agreement between NASA and the city, and reduced fees and expedited process for photovoltaic and electric vehicle charger building permits. Due to recent changes in state legislation, the General Plan Action Plan must now be presented to the City Council and forwarded to the California Office of Planning and Research as an annual progress report. Following the EPC's review of the General Plan Annual Progress Report, staff will forward it to Council and to the California OPR. At this time, staff is seeking an EPC recommendation to the Council on the acceptance of the Annual Progress Report. In addition, the EPC may recommend that the City Council identify new priorities from the General Plan Action Plan Table 1, and staff will forward these recommendations to Council. That being said, staff must prioritize work items as is shown on this slide. So the first priority includes legislative responsibilities, including review of development projects pursuant to the Permit Streamlining Act, required housing element updates, zoning ordinance amendments required to bring the city code into compliance with state law, etc. The second priority is projects identified as part of the City Council strategic roadmap process. And the third priority would be implementation of the General Plan Action Plan or other plans such as the Sustainability Action Plan, which was adopted in 2019. As General Plan Action Plan implementation is a lower priority, staff may not have capacity to start work on major projects from this list unless there is significant overlap between the project and Council strategic roadmap priority projects. In conclusion, staff recommends that the EPC review, prioritize, and provide input on the Council strategic roadmap to date, including the draft project list, which is included as Exhibit 1 to the staff report. And additionally, staff recommends that the EPC review and recommend that the City Council accept the 2020 General Plan Annual Progress Report. And that concludes our presentation. We would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Okay. This is not clear from the script. Do I do questions from EPC before public comment or the other way around?
Usually with these types of items, you do public comment first.
Okay, great. So we'll move to public comment. Would any member of the public on the line like to provide comment on this item? If so, please click the raise hand button in Zoom or press *9 on your phone. Phone users can mute and unmute themselves with *6. The EPC clerk will start the timer and let you know when your time is up. Clerk Haran, do we have anyone wishing to speak?
We do have one. So I will call Bruce England.
Hello all, you can hear me okay?
Hello, Mr. England.
Hi, Bruce England for Mountain View Coalition for Sustainable Planning and Green Spaces MV. And thanks for the group name corrections earlier. It's always good to get those right from a community perspective. Yeah, this process is a little confusing because I guess you're going to go through this list of whatever it is, 32, 34 items, and they're not all EPC related. So how you will do that, I guess, remains to be seen. So I'm not going to go item by item, but I just have 3 that I'd like to highlight, and I hope that this is going to be relevant for you. The facilitation of affordable housing at the VTA Evelyn site, of course, that'd be great to increase housing, but as you know, there's a safe parking program there. And there's a risk of that being compromised by having a housing process happen. It could be that that development process is so long that it wouldn't matter, but we also don't know how long safe parking is going to be needed there, and it could be a long time. So I hope you'll take that into consideration. The feasibility study of the automated gateway transportation system, that's an expense to the CIP through Public Works, and they could use that for other projects. They're pretty hampered by, I think it's something like 200 projects they've got. And what I'd like to see is this paid for by the North Bay Shore businesses. They're the ones who are going to benefit from this, and not by the city, and certainly not through the capital improvement program. And then lastly, the Moffett Boulevard Streetscape Design Strategy. That's a very important program, but City Council has been talking about escalating that to be a precise plan project because there are just so many moving parts. It's not just the street. And also along with that, not having it cut off, either way, not having it cut off at Middlefield, but further north so that it takes into account the trailhead for the Stevens Creek Trail north of Middlefield. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. England. Any other speakers?
I'm not seeing any more speakers.
That will bring it back to the EPC. So are there any initiatives? So I guess just first item, in what was originally sent out, the suggestion was everybody puts together a list of 16 items, and my reaction was, okay, but I kind of want to hear why people like certain things higher on the list rather than others. And so what I suggested was a process where we maybe get the top 10 from everyone, use that as our first list, but then it gives an opportunity for members who are passionate about one of the other items to be able to communicate to other members of the commission why they believe that's something that should be higher on our list. And we were limited to 16 total, but I didn't feel myself that I was in a position to know, with all wisdom, what the top priority that all of us would agree to. And so I'm suggesting this different approach where there's at least some dialogue so that what we submit to council is more of a collective decision rather than just a bunch of votes. Are there any objections to taking that approach? Yeah, thumb up, thumbs, nods, yes, thumbs. Okay. All right, then we'll take that approach. Planner Whitehill has told me that she will have a spreadsheet that she can use to capture things as we go through these as going forward. But maybe just before we get into actually kind of collecting those, are there any questions from the commission to Planner Whitehill, to Mr. Anderson, about what we're seeing and what we're being asked to do here overall? Commissioner Hammer?
Can I just clarify one assumption I made, which is that city staffing is not significantly changing during this?
No. So no, city staffing is not. However, if I can kind of read into what council is asking the commission for is, the 16 is kind of their idea and city staff's idea of how we can kind of constrain based on city staffing. So I think you should identify your priorities and if you're concerned about city staffing, we can have that discussion in addition, and also provide those comments to council, in addition to the list.
Sure. No, I did the exercise with the idea that staffing was staying the same, knowing that there are a lot of demands on staff already. So that's how I just full disclosure for the commission, that's what I was thinking, because I know that there's so many economic constraints, but that's really helpful, Eric, to kind of give those guardrails. Thank you.
and maybe I can just add one thing. I've listened to some of the council discussions with the budget process, and overall, while the city is in fairly good financial situation going for the next fiscal year, the expected revenues are down, primarily as a result of retail sales, but more importantly, the transit occupancy tax, the taxes collected from hotels. Since travel is very low, a fair amount of that is just simply not coming in. In addition, the city manager has kind of communicated that there's still a level of stress associated with the COVID-19 things that fell behind, and so has kind of asked council to limit any new projects as much as possible to keep them constrained. Yes, the staffing level is the same, but don't go out there and say, yeah, can we plan for all the stuff for 22 and 23 and 24 and fill the pipeline, give us a chance to catch up and get that. So that's kind of what I've heard from the various meetings and so the reason for the guidance to the commissions to constrain your total request going forward so that staff can actually achieve things and catch up. Commissioner Dempsey?
Yeah, I just had a quick question for staff. I noticed in the memo that you write the first priority should be legislative requirements, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. That's absolutely right. Which of these are there any of these projects, staff, that you would classify as sort of a legislative mandate? And there's maybe like the RENA one, maybe I could see that. But are there any others that you would consider a legislative mandate?
The update of the housing element is required under state law. So staff will be doing that regardless of whether it's identified as a priority. I don't believe there are any others that are mandated by state law. I'm not sure if Eric is aware of any, but I believe that's the only one.
I'm not aware of any, but again, I'm not an expert on all things that the city does. So only speaking on behalf of the items that planning is working on, that's the one, the housing element.
Thank you.
Commissioner Shimizu?
Has staff, well, this may be, kind of a broad-reaching question, but have you considered upcoming state and federal legislation and how that might trickle down to the city level in terms of the projects? For example, I know that President Biden has proposed an infrastructure bill that includes expanding broadband services, and I saw that was one of the potential priorities. And so knowing that staff's time is constrained, has there been any look at priorities that are on this list that may actually get assistance at the state or federal level? If that makes my question make sense?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Sort of along the lines of what Eric was saying, we can only speak in great detail about the projects that planning would be involved in. And typically, we anticipate that state laws will change and that we will need to update our zoning ordinance, update the housing element with specific, legislation that's coming through at the state and national level that wouldn't necessarily affect planning related items. I honestly am not sure. That's something that, we could look into and get back to you on, but I'm not sure what sort of planning and analysis was done around that.
Thank you.
I will add that one of the items that has been discussed is, a legislative update to kind of keep council and staff and the community as a whole up to date on what's happening with the state. And so I believe that's one of the items here, which kind of dovetails to what you're talking about. But, a lot of times these things we respond to as they're adopted because there is a lot of uncertainty as it's going through the legislative process.
Do you have a follow-on, Commissioner Schmidt? Okay. Vice Chair Lowe?
Thank you, Chair. I just have a couple of quick questions on some of the specific items. One of my question is, can staff please remind me, there are two items related to transportation and travel demand. One is called the Citywide Travel Demand Update, and the other one is the TDM Ordinance. If you could refresh my memory on that, that would be great. Thanks. I could not find information readily available.
Sure. The last time we updated our, or we did a kind of comprehensive update on our travel demand model was for the 2030 General Plan, which we adopted in 2012. There have been a lot of changes to how we have to measure transportation since then, most notably the SB 743. While we can output the necessary numbers from our current travel demand model, it may make sense to, or we are proposing, and council is considering, kind of rebuilding it from the bottom up to kind of more readily produce these numbers that we have to produce. So it really is a very technical thing, and the goal is really to just kind of streamline our transportation modeling, traffic modeling, VMT modeling for the major decisions that council and the council has to make. The TDM ordinance, right now we have a hodgepodge, I'll say, of different TDM requirements across a range of different precise plans and the greenhouse gas reduction program. And the goal there is to kind of get them a little bit more consistent and kind of refined, and also to set up a set of procedures for when, say, an office development has to report, what do they have to report, what are penalties, things like that.
Could I ask a follow-up question? Is the current state of the traffic models from 2012, would that impair our ability of staff to respond to analysis of the VMT going forward? I thought that we were getting a lot of that from the county.
So yeah, right now we have the county has a tool, or VTA has a tool that can be used for individual development projects. So you type in a parcel, you say this is 200 units on this parcel, and it'll spit out, here's the estimated VMT for that parcel. It's a lot, we can't do it for something like the R3 zoning update or a new precise plan or something like that. It's just not, the VTA tool is not set up for that.
So for other things, that analysis that needs to be updated in order to be able to do those kind of things, or is that going to be new anytime there's a major thing like R3 or a precise plan? They're so different they'd have to be done anyway.
I'm sorry, can you rephrase the question?
If we need to do VMT for the analysis of major projects. If that data is not brought up to date, does that mean that the process that's required for, say, for R3 or for a precise plan take much longer because that data has not been updated? Or is that just so different that it doesn't really have an impact on those kinds of things?
I'm not going to pretend that I'm an expert on the details of how our traffic model is operated. We are able to create a VMT estimate given the traffic model we have. For example, East Wisman Precise Plan, when we did our EIR, we did VMT, we did all of these other, vehicle LOS metrics, we did it all. So we are able to do it. My understanding is that there may be ways that we can streamline it to make it easier to use, easier for staff to use, easier for different consultants to use, and otherwise just bring it up to date.
Sorry, Chair, did you have other questions?
That's it for now. Thanks.
Commissioner Yin?
Thanks. Yes. I just had a question about whether there were projects, and maybe staff can't answer it because these projects are, comprehensive. Are there any where we're like 95% done or something like that, where we're almost done? There's no going back anyways, and it just makes sense to just finish it? I know you're trying to get feedback on priorities. It's a difficult question to answer, but it just seems, I don't want to be wasteful of time and funding either. So just to know maybe which ones are like almost done.
There was an attachment to the study session memo from the previous council meeting, and it does say when the estimated completion date is for the underway projects. And I'm just looking, the one on the displacement response strategy says estimated completion Q1 2022, so that's still a ways out. The review and propose the R3 zone standards, knew that one, is Q1 2022, still probably a ways out. The remainder of these are all TBDs or after that.
Okay. Just want to know if anything was just a standout.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Doesn't appear so.
Thank you.
Other commission questions? I just had one. Almost of the items in Exhibit 3 that were part of the current work plan, I'm pretty familiar with the status of almost all of them either having been completed or underway or still on this list. One is noticeably missing, and that's the Gateway Master Plan. Did council decided not to proceed with that, or where did that go?
No, it's still happening. Right now my understanding is that we're finalizing it for adoption. And as far as I know, it's tentatively scheduled for later this spring, early summer for adoption. Maybe it might move to fall, but it's happening soon.
So it's one that's assumed to be so close to being finished that it doesn't need to be on the next cycle. Okay, got you. Thank you. All right, any other questions? All right, then why don't we Clerk Moran, can you maybe poll each member, and so if you can go through and try to help Planner Whitehall as much as possible to be specific which one you're referring to, as to what you would see as one of your top 10 items on the that you would like to see as part of the priorities for the next 2 years. So, Clerk Moran, can you call the first commission member?
Is this a question for Brittany or Planner Whitehall?
Just to go, treat it like you're doing a vote, okay? Call each member, and member will, each member to say, okay, I'd like number, this item from page 1, this item from page 2, so that Brittany can then capture those items on the spreadsheet. And then we can then look at it collectively. Does that work?
I understand, yeah.
Sorry, Erin, just interject really quickly and make sure that this spreadsheet is visible to everyone.
I can see it. Tiny, but
Okay. Yeah, we can zoom in if necessary. And then just want to let everyone know that essentially we will just tally, if a commissioner is in support of a project, we will just type 1 as a vote. And then if the vote total exceeds 4 or reaches 4, this vote total count will turn green. So we'll know that that project has majority support. And yeah, so thanks. Go ahead, Erin.
Okay, so just so I understand, would you like me to go down each of the project items here and like
person by person?
Okay,
Yes.
so let's
By commission.
start low.
Sorry, did you call on me?
Yes. Am I understanding, do you want me to go by this first item here, develop a city mobile home ordinance modeled on the CSFRA?
So Commissioner Lowe, or Vice Chair Lowe, can you give us your top 10 items from the list?
Okay.
Okay, got it. All right, so unfortunately, I actually grouped my items not in this order, so I'll try to make it as clear as possible. I didn't note down what page it is on. So I kind of grouped them under the priorities. So for example, I'm going to tell you what I think are important under intentional housing development. For me, I would support the R3 zone standards. I'll wait for you to find that.
Okay.
Page 2, project 2.1. Okay.
You got it? Okay. And then second one is the Moffett precise, well, I mean, right now it's a streetscape, but, and we can discuss more. I do support a Moffett precise plan. So I don't know if you want to put notes on that or how. Okay, great. And then the third one is I do support more affordable housing. And I think the one that falls under that is the VTA Evelyn site. But I want to note what Mr. England brought up, some of the concerns related to that, and make sure it doesn't, if we turn it into an affordable housing site, it doesn't mean that we lose space for the safe parking spaces. And then under equitable community, I have a comprehensive homelessness response strategy. And then did you find it? Okay. And then for livability and quality of life, I have the biodiversity requirements. And then the second one under that is the Parks and Recreation Strategic Plan. And I would like to make some recommendation on this item, which is to make sure we include the wildlife habitat management plan in this too, and make it more of a holistic plan that will include, a network of parks, open space, and green corridor, and preserving wildlife habitat. And then under sustainability and climate resiliency, I have the citywide travel demand update. And then the community tree master plan update and review. For mobility and connectivity, I have the Citywide Transportation Demand Management Ordinance. How many do I have now?
9 so far. One more.
Uh-oh, I only have one last left. Under Thriving Local Economy, I have the Castro Pedestrian Mall feasibility study. I also think the transit center master plan is important, so I don't know if we can note that too. That's it for me. Thank you.
Who's next on here?
Commissioner Capriles, if you could give us your top 10.
Sure. The one of the things that I think to develop a city mobile home ordinance model, because I think we've been trying to do that ever since we were trying to implement that type of control over other things in the city. I think that's really critical. And one that I wanted to really throw out there, just because of COVID and what all of us have gone through, is to really look at feasibility of an alternative mental health crisis response, the methods, because I think we put that all on our safety officers, and so I'm concerned we're putting too much on them, and we probably need some help from other nonprofits. And I also, I think Commissioner Vice Chair Lowe said develop a comprehensive homeless response strategy. I think it's very important that we, we further develop that. I think that we've got to start on it, but I think that we really need to flesh that out in detail so we don't leave anybody out. Then I also support the R3 zone standards to complete that and have the design notebook. I think we really need to complete that, and I think that's important to consider. And I too found that a lot of the projects could be combined.
Yeah.
It seemed like you could combine the wildlife habitat management and the Parks and Rec proposal to I'm trying to pull it out, because I also have some a different way of trying to pull this together. I was trying to look at the the strategy of the council and to balance it out so we would cover each one of these areas.
So the Parks and Rec strategic plan was one of your items, as was the wildlife, or?
Well, I think that was one of the ones that we ought to combine.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's because I think both of them were really, stood out to me. I think that is really important. And regarding the housing element, I also thought developing the strategies for middle income persons to afford different housing types. We have been behind the housing element now for I don't know how many years as far as middle income, and I think we need to get a little more serious about addressing that particular one. Let me see. And then also the Citywide Transportation Demand Management Ordinance, as Eric alluded to, it's kind of been a hodgepodge for a number of years. It'd be nice to consolidate all of that. So to develop a citywide transportation demand management ordinance is important from my perspective. And I think the other thing that I felt was important from a safety point of view was to continue the soft story seismic retrofit program. I feel like that's something that we shouldn't lose sight of. I think we've got a lot of older buildings in the city, and I think it's important that they are safe for the people who are living there now. So I think we need to focus on what we need to do there.
Count 9 so far.
Pardon?
Hard.
I count 9 so far.
You're doing 9 so far. Well, see, this was a hard one because you know, a curveball, Bill, because, you know, here I had all my 16 laid out and you told me to cut it to 10. So come on. You know,
council's going to have to, they're going to have to prioritize. So.
Well, I know, but it still was, you know,
Hard.
not easy because I had my favorites and I had them organized and you know, I was all excited and then you threw me that curve. But okay, here we go. Let's see. I have to pick them out. Okay. And I must say there's some of these ones that I had not even known that they were, you know, working with school districts on another acquisition of property. So can I ask a question in the middle of all of this?
Sure.
I don't know what the city school district joint use master agreement is. And would that also include, you know, the purchases of these particular properties? You know, that's kind of something that I wasn't sure of. I mean, I don't want to neglect the school districts, but yet, you know, I think we've kind of learned a lot from our you know, recent transfer of development rights with Los Altos School District in order for them to put a school showers in California. So I don't know whether that master agreement incorporates some of that. These are some of the things that make it hard to know, should we have that as a priority? Do we have something started already that needs, you know, a real update? So those are my comments. I guess I'm up to 10. Am I, Bill?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that one. If Eric or Brittany are not, could you discuss it?
Sure. Yeah. So the joint use agreement is really about the shared open spaces. And so there's been a lot of discussion recently about, you know, whether the school district should be able to fence off these open spaces, limit, you know, limit access when there is an agreement between the city and the school districts to share it as open space. So that's really what that that topic is about. It's not really about acquisition of additional school land.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. So you know, that was kind of a.
You want to keep that one or?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I think if there's something in place for that, it's, you know, that kind of covers my concerns, you know, from that particular area. And then
so number 10.
I think the number 10 for me would be to continue to implement the transit center master plan.
If I can just clarify really quickly, Commissioner Capriles.
Yes.
Did you cast a vote? And we will certainly recommend, or for the recommendation that potentially the comprehensive wildlife habitat management plan be combined with the Parks and Rec strategic plan.
Yeah.
But just in terms of your vote, are we counting one vote for each of those?
Well, no, because then I'll be down to 8 and I have to, go back to square one.
Oh, sorry, I listed as 2.
Okay, so yes, one
combining it.
goes.
Then you get one more vote then, if you're combining them.
I get one more? Okay, let me
Yeah.
just look. Oh my gosh.
Okay, I don't know, Eric, if you have any thoughts on how we're going to go about doing this if we start combining items. I think it might be cleaner for this exercise to try to avoid that, but still forward those recommendations.
Yeah, I would say let's not get let's get everything down on paper is my recommendation. And then as we find, trends, you can have a conversation about, do we want to phrase this as developing a parks and recreation plan with wildlife management, or do we want to phrase it as comprehensive wildlife management plan with parks and recreation? So you can have that conversation after we've got everything down on paper.
All right.
Okay. In that case, I am counting 10 for Commissioner Capriles.
Oh, so I'm done? Okay. I wasn't done before, but I guess I am done now.
And you will have your an opportunity to cast your 6 additional votes.
Yeah, I can rebuttal. Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, how about we ask Commissioner Dempsey for his top 10?
Sure. So I did it on Exhibit 4 here, so I'll just kind of go down through the list. I do want to say there was a lot of meritorious projects here, and I actually had a hard time getting it down to 16, much less 10. So I sympathize with my colleagues that really are trying to pack as many socks into this suitcase as we possibly can. So here's my 10. Page 1, develop a city mobile home ordinance modeled on SISFRM, obviously, because I think that's going to make life better for some folks. Page 2, comprehensive homelessness response strategy. That's an issue for a lot of cities. We should get ahead of it. 3, holding a study session on the displacement response strategy, again, COVID and everything that's going to be after it. Just want to make sure we are looking out for the most vulnerable.
Sorry, can you repeat 3 for me really quickly?
Sorry?
1 point.
The third one that you mentioned.
Oh, that was 1.1.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Carry on?
Yeah.
Okay. Just a couple below that. This is 2.1, review and propose revisions to R3. I'll finish that. Page 3, I have 1. This is the establish and implement performance auditing to ensure that this city is performing well. I think that's important, but I did have a question for staff. How is this different from, I believe it's tagged MOB 821, system performance targeting? I don't know if that's just transit, or how do those 2 things interact?
So you're talking about just citywide performance monitoring, that one?
Yeah, the auditing.
What row number is that?
That's
Last
29 on the spreadsheet.
Bottom of page 3 on the.
Oh yeah, right. So that at the I believe at the March meeting, the council meeting, that was brought up kind of at the end of the meeting by one of the council members. And I think the inspiration there is just kind of looking for efficiencies in city processes. So it's not about transportation. It's about, kind of figuring out our city procedures and making sure that they are achieving their goals and doing so in an efficient way. The mobility action in the general plan is about the performance metrics. So for transportation, so how are we measuring success in transportation? Do we use, the LOS metrics or the VMT metrics, things like that?
Perfect. Thank you. So yeah, put me down for the performance auditing. I think if we can, be frugal with our money. We can spend it on other things that are really important to us. Then page 4, inventory residential buildings in areas with lower zoning, as well as 5.9, plan, coordinate, and oversee COVID-19 recovery efforts to support community relief. And related to that, develop an economic vitality strategy to support small businesses, again, as we're coming out of COVID. I think that gets me to 9, right?
I have 8.
Uno, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, oh my gosh, I'm gonna end up with an extra. So, oh, this is gonna be, maybe I should give it to Margaret. Put me down for the arena at the tail end. That's important. And oh, I gotta, which one did I cut off? You know what? Put me down for the Castro pedestrian mall feasibility studies.
Okay, thank you. And Commissioner Haymeyer, can you please give us your top 10?
You bet. And it's grading season at Stanford, so I was more cutthroat and then added back. So I also use Exhibit 4. The first one is the explore the feasibility of alternative mental health crisis response methods. And first, let me just compliment you on your spreadsheet. I'm a big fan. Second, I had the develop a comprehensive homelessness response strategy. Yeah, okay. Then I had develop strategies for middle income persons to afford different housing types. Like my commissioners, I had the R3 zoning standards. And then immediately after that as well is the MBLA possibility of the district acquiring Shenandoah. On page 3, continue to implement the transit master plan. I just think this is so important if we can get ahead of the long range planning as we're working toward reopening. And then I had develop a city active and transportation plan, thinking about the impacts of climate and how so many folks are going to be getting back into their single occupancy vehicles. On page 4, I had inventory residential buildings that are in areas with lower zoning. I had plan, coordinate, and oversee COVID-19 recovery efforts. And if you stick with me, the one right below it, I believe, is develop an economic vitality strategy to support small business. And then on the final page, I thought about performance auditing as a former performance auditor, but I really think the opportunity would be increasing interdepartmental cooperation. And I picked that in part because I think so many of the issues that we're dealing with require, great coordination. And I think anything that we can do to work across our traditional department boundaries. The 2 that I had is possibly, and I understand that we don't have a scoring system, but I'll just throw it out there for discussion, that I could be talked into. I know we're going to have some votering. The VTA housing, or the VTA Evelyn site and possible housing. This one, I just wanted to have a conversation about what possible timeframe we're talking about. If it is a long time horizon, I could be swayed into prioritizing this one, just knowing that the safe parking lot provides such essential case services and transitionary housing in the moment. My other possibly was the citywide transportation demand management ordinance. And then I had a third possibility on Moffett Boulevard. I really think I could only get behind this one if we had a strong recommendation that it's a precise plan. I don't think the streetscape is comprehensive enough for an area that is in many ways a gateway into downtown and so much of our community. So depending on how discussion goes.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Schmiesing, can we hear your top 10, please?
So I did mine on Exhibit 4, so I think it should be in order. So the first one was develop a city mobile home ordinance modeled on the CSFRA. Then next, develop a parks and recreation strategic plan. Develop a comprehensive homelessness response strategy. Develop strategies for middle persons to afford different housing types.
Can I slow you down? I missed.
Sorry, yes.
I got a little behind.
Where are you at?
Okay, so I have mobile home ordinance, parks and rec strategic plan. Can you repeat the third and the fourth?
Yes, the comprehensive homelessness response strategy. Strategies for middle income persons to afford different housing types. The review and proposed revision.
Brittany, are you caught up?
Sorry. I'll really
I must have spelled it wrong.
Yep, there you go.
Let's see.
R31 was the next one.
Okay, so we have mobile home ordinance, parks and rec strategic plan, homelessness response strategy, middle income, R3.
Yes. And then the citywide transportation and management ordinance.
Okay.
Okay. The city active transportation plan, which I think is down a bit. Oh gosh, I think I identified too many. I'm in the same boat as Commissioner Cabrillas. The plan, oh, sorry. Next would be continue the citywide travel demand update. Am I at? Wait a minute.
I count 8 so far.
Okay, good. Okay. I've heard a lot of the ones I had echoed. I'll echo the plan, coordinate, and oversee COVID-19 recovery efforts. And I did think the strategies to support small businesses was really important. And I guess I would hope that would be part of COVID-19 recovery efforts, but it sounds like that one, the economic vitality strategy, has support from commissioners as well. And then I only have one more. I know the housing element is going to happen anyways. And I think that's certainly a priority. I guess for number 10, I'll say complete the Castro pedestrian mall feasibility study. Okay, thank you. Sorry for that.
Making good progress.
So did you put a 1 at the small business economic strategy?
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, great. Commissioner Yin, can you please give us your top 10?
Sure, I'm going to have to make sure it's 10, but I will go along with Exhibit 4's order for now. First one up is the mobile home ordinance. I think we should just get that done. I know council was debating what that might be, but whichever way it is, I think it's important to just get it done. Then I have develop a parks and rec strategic plan. Next, exploring the feasibility of alternative mental health crisis, right below it. And then page 2, it's developing the comprehensive homelessness response strategy. I have also the ordinance for wage theft. Where is this? Okay, let me go back here. Moffett Boulevard, precise plan, please. Not just the street.
Sorry, Brittany, I think you put that on the wrong row. I think the label is on the transit center row.
No, I think I've done that with a few of the votes.
No, I watched. I think this is the only one.
Okay, then I think my notes were in the wrong row in that case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unless, I mean, if a commissioner who's already gone sees that they intended to select the Moffett Boulevard, but they're shown as the transit center, please feel free to pipe up.
Okay.
7, is that right?
So we have Moffett and we have the transit center.
Okay. So Yin, that's a vote for the transit center as well, is that correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
I have the active transportation plan, combining the pedestrian and bicycle master plans together, so we are more holistic in our overview of what's going on there. So how many is that so far? Sorry.
9.
2, 9. Okay, and I also have increased interdepartmental collaboration. I had a question there, and I was just wondering if that is a project or if that's just something for city staff. That seems like it would be important regardless. Does that require a vote to say, yes, we feel that's a good idea to move forward? I would.
You could have a kind of, work item where staff looks at all the ways that the departments work together and come up with ideas and solutions for improving that process.
Okay, I think it's hugely important. Every time we come to a session, in my head, I'm just thinking, I wish we could be more holistic in our approach. And if that would help so many projects, even in narrowing these projects down, we've heard a lot of, this should be combined with this and so on and so forth. I just feel like that actually would be like one of the top things outside of COVID things. I think that's 10 then. Is that correct? And honestly, I was very torn on the R3, and that would only be because I think we need to have the displacement response strategy in tandem, if not before. So that's a timing thing for me. So I'm leaning towards holding on the R3 until the displacement response strategy is done.
At 10?
I'm counting 9.
Oh, is it? I get it. Okay, good.
Okay. Did you add the displacement response strategy? I don't think she mentioned that previously.
There we go. Got it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, great. And Chair Cranston, can we hear your top 10?
It's pretty interesting to listen to you guys here. What do you think of my priorities here? So I moved the Parks and Rec strategic plan. In my first item, I'm going through the report. I also believe that a displacement response strategy is needed. It should be a priority. R3 zoning. Working with Mountain View Los Altos on or Mountain View Westman on the Shenandoah property. That's my fourth item. Citywide TDM. My fifth. So I, like others, I listed the Moffett Boulevard, but as a precise plan, not as just the streetscape design strategy. Trying Transit Center Master Plan. On page 4, the inventory residential buildings with lower zoning. Because I'm alone in this, I had the downtown precise plan amendments in there. And, so I'm finding it interesting that some of my fellow commissioners gave themselves an extra vote, but since the arena numbers are a must-have and we don't really have any choice on it, they skipped over their other top priority items because that's a requirement and saved themselves one vote. So I'm going to do the same thing and put the citywide TDM in my. But I already have that. Did I already have that on there?
Yeah, that one's already shown.
Okay. The one that I had was the update city to school district joint master plan agreements would be my next one. It's near the top of the page, page 1 of the original documents. So let's update the city school district joint master use agreements. So how many green ones do we have already here? Did you check my math here? So looks like the mobile home. Can you maybe read off this, since it's really small on my computer screen, can you read off the ones that have a majority vote of it?
I think you're muted, Brittany.
Thanks, Erin. Okay, so the first one that has reached a majority with 4 votes is develop a city mobile home ordinance modeled after the CSFRA. The second one is develop a Parks and Rec strategic plan that has 5 votes. Develop a comprehensive homelessness response strategy, has 6 votes. Review and propose revisions to the R3 zone standards, also 6 votes. Develop a TDM ordinance, 4 votes. And that is it so far.
And by my arithmetic, I think we have 9 that are 3s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can read those off as well if that would be helpful.
Yep.
Okay, so the so far what we have with 3 votes: explore the feasibility of alternative mental health crisis response methods, hold a study session on displacement and no net loss, develop strategies for a middle income person to afford housing. Let's see. Moffett Boulevard streetscape design strategy, and it sounds like so far everyone has spoken in support of a precise plan. City active transportation plan, inventory residential buildings that are in areas with lower zoning, plan, coordinate, and oversee COVID-19 recovery efforts, develop economic vitality strategies, and Castro pedestrian mall feasibility study.
So we've and we all technically have 6 votes. So are there any of these that folks that have not voted for in their first 10 that they're like, oh yeah, I definitely want that one, that would or is there a champion for one of these that would like to speak out to encourage other commissioners to add one of their 6 available votes? I see Vice Chair Lowe.
Thank you, Chair Cranston. I would like to support the mental health exploration. And do I cast 6 additional votes? Is that how it works?
You don't have to use them all. Here, I'm just saying you've got, as you've heard people talk about it, you've got 6 additional votes. If some of these are like, yep, this makes sense to me, I will add one of my 6 votes into that.
Can I just clarify, Commissioner or Chair Cranston? Don't we really just have 5? Right? If we're trying to get to 10, and then there are 9 of these that are on the border. If 5 are already spoken for, if we do our 6 votes.
At the end, we're going to deliver 16 items to.
Oh, we're delivering 16. I thought we were doing 10 total. Okay, I misunderstood. Thank you.
And I mean, obviously, the RENA numbers are kind of required. So while we have 5 that we've listed, the reality is we have 6 already.
From staff's perspective, in terms of going through this exercise, I think we're really trying to identify which of these items receive, majority or consensus support, and we'll definitely present, all of this information in terms of which of these do receive that majority.
So it sounds like there's at least majority support with adding Vice Chair Lowe to the alternative mental health. What was the second one? I can't even read my notes here. The second one that you read off that had 3 votes. Oh, displacement. So I guess I'll speak in support of this one. One of the things that was very concerning to me as we talked about the R3 zoning was the fact that if this were to move ahead, while the people who are in the rent-controlled units today are protected by SB 330, there is no guarantee that SB 330 will be here in 3 years. And putting in place something in parallel with the R3 zoning that says, how does the city of Mountain View want to deal with essentially a no net loss process to make sure that as we proceed down the path of the R3 zoning, that if somebody decides to basically tear down and redo something that's a rent controlled property, and SB 330 has lapsed, I think Mountain View, it would be good for Mountain View to have its equivalent to that no net loss program, and so that's why I had listed that as something that I thought was critical going forward. Any other support for that beyond the 3 that voted? Commissioner Yin, or comment on that? Oh, you took your hand down. Okay, Vice Chair Lowe?
I would like to support it.
Commissioner Hairmeyer?
Yeah, I would support doing displacement in tandem with R3.
Okay. Commissioner Schmeezing?
Same here.
Okay. Commissioner Capellas?
I'll give you the deciding vote, Chair Cranston.
That gets us to unanimous, so thank you for your support. Other projects in that next tier, we have the support for middle income, Moffett Boulevard, streetscape / precise plan, the auto transportation analysis, inventory of buildings, COVID-19 support, economic vitality, and the Castro Pedestrian Mall. Commissioner Schmeezing.
I would like to support the Moffett Boulevard streetscape design with the recognition that there's desire for a precise plan and looking at that more thoroughly. I would also like to cast a vote for I know the mental health has already tipped over the 4, but if we're giving all of the data to council, I'm in support of that as well. And then I wasn't sure if the implementation of the transit center master plan has tipped over the 4 vote threshold, but that was one of my 16, and I think that's important as well.
I think that had.
Did I get
2
4?
votes?
Okay.
Yeah, that one's at 4 right now.
Okay, great.
Okay. Commissioner Hammond. Did you actually first, Brittany, did you get all of those from?
Just to confirm, Commissioner Schmeezing, you do wish to cast a vote for the Transit Center Master Plan?
Yeah, Transit Center Master Plan, the mental health, and then Moffett Boulevard.
Great, got those. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Sorry, Commissioner Hammond.
Sure, in hopes of swaying some of my colleagues, aligned with the displacement strategies in R3, I think the inventory of residential lower zoning would make a lot of sense to do that all in tandem. They seem like they're parallel processes, and you would want to be able to do the inventory, do the R3 standards, and have something in line for displacement. And then just given this moment, I can't understate, I think COVID-19 and economic vitality, I know we think that things are strong in Mountain View, but there are a lot of small businesses that are really hurting. And I think if we're talking about immediate priorities, what makes us so special is the rich fabric we have of small businesses. So that one, and coupled with COVID relief, I would hope maybe could make it over the 4-vote threshold.
Vice Chair Lowe.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to add my support to the COVID effort as well, because that was on my 16. Oh, I see. So they're 2 separate ones, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Develop an economic vitality strategy and the plan, coordinate, and oversee COVID-19.
I think those are important.
Okay. Any other comments?
I did want to show my support for the active transportation plan as well. That was on my 16 list too. Thank you.
Commissioner Yin.
I had wanted to add a vote to the COVID-19 recovery efforts, as well as the economic vitality strategy. Those 2 were in my 16. I'm trying to make sure I have the count correct. Sorry. Maybe we'll come back around and add in our total votes later on. Let me just get that all situated here.
Commissioner Dempsey, did you have any that you wanted to add support to?
Yeah, I have 2. If we're going to do Moffett Boulevard as a precise plan, I like that idea, so I'd like to put my support with that. And add me to active transportation plan. I think if we've got some support for doing that, let's do that.
Commissioner Yin, your hand's still up. Did you have something you wanted to add in?
Yes. Okay. I think I've got my other votes in, but I'm going to maybe hold back on 1 or 2 in case I get convinced one way or another. But if you don't mind, I was going to also add a vote for the, where did it go here? the Community Tree Master Plan, coordination and update. And then there was the citywide travel demand already crossed over, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I am going to add into the downtown precise plan to preserve the character of the downtown core. I already did those two. 1, 2, 3. All right, and that's it for now. Thank you.
We heard from everybody. Commissioner Capellas, have you chimed in? I don't remember.
No, I didn't have anything in addition, but I did want to speak for the middle income housing, that we need to really focus on a strategy of how we're going to incentivize the developers to give us more middle income, because I think we've, every time we go through the housing element process, I feel that we are always lacking in the middle income. We can hit the high and the low and the very low, but we seem to forget about the middle. And I think this is part of the frustration in the community, that there is nothing available that people can take advantage of. So would love to see that kind of bubble up to the top as well. And let me think. I just want to see what I have and have not voted for now. So let's see. Yeah, I did vote for the homeless response strategy. Okay. That's it for me at the moment.
Commissioner Dempsey, you've got your hand up.
Yeah, I think I have a couple votes left. Hopefully staff will correct me if I'm going over. But if I've got 2 votes left to spend, I want to add them, one to the downtown precise plan. If we can make that stronger, all the better. And I will follow the admonitions of Commissioner Caprillis, and I will add one of my remaining votes to solving that missing middle problem.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Dempsey, I had you at 12, so I believe you now have 14 votes casted. So let me confirm that, but you may actually have 2 additional votes left. Yes, 2 votes left.
Right. While you're thinking about that, Vice Chair Lowe.
Thank you, Chair Cranston. I was wondering if I could convince some of my colleagues to support the Community Tree Master Plan. As you all know, we as a city are trying to improve our tree canopy coverage from 17.7% back in 2015 to almost 23%. And that's a very ambitious goal, to plant so many trees, not only in public land, but also on private properties, to make sure we have clean air. As you know, trees do so much for our community. Also, they improve mental health. They also improve stormwater runoff and a host of, benefits. And, a lot of sustainability goals can be achieved by planting more trees. So I hope you will consider supporting that, especially those who have extra votes left.
Okay. Commissioner Dempsey, you had your hand up next. Okay. Commissioner Ian?
I was just going to add to that, reasons to add your vote to that, other than what Vice Commissioner Lowe had already stated, is that a lot of our projects that come to us, I've noticed that because they're large parcels and we need to get underground parking for the large, more dense housing, there's no way to save a lot of the trees that are in the middle of the lot. And so we're actually decreasing our trees. And I know that there are always plans to plant new ones sort of around the perimeter, but trees are not going to grow over a parking garage very well, large ones as well, especially. So in a sense, we're sort of losing trees as we approve the big housing and the dense housing when we really need more trees. So wherever we can find ways and places to put more trees, it's a challenge. And it would be good to see that happen.
Brittany, can you kind of slowly scroll from the top to the bottom? So I've been taking lots of notes here, but I've kind of forgotten what I put my, you get it, look where I'm at here. So got to slow down. I'm gonna add one of my votes to the middle income item, okay, 2.4. Can you scroll down a little bit more? Let me take a look here. Okay, next. Continue down further. I'm going to add one of my votes to the City Active Transportation Plan, line 27. Already have a vote there. Already have a vote there. Okay, can you scroll down a little bit further? Already have a vote there. Keep going. Where did I misplace the COVID-19 and the economic vitality ones? Where did I miss those? Yeah, there. Yeah, add a vote for each of those. I think that takes me to 14. The Castro pedestrian mall would be the next one.
Okay, so I believe you're at 15 now. Okay. And if it's helpful, I can go through and tally each of the commissioners and let you know how many votes you have left.
Okay. How many?
Thank you.
How many have turned green?
Okay.
So we can just go where we are in our total here.
Sure. So we have, and I'll read through these in a second. We have 14 that have turned green.
Okay. So we're not required to provide 16 total. We have 14 now. How many? I think I have 2 votes left. How's everybody else looking?
Let's see. I'm just gonna quickly go one by one and see what people are at. Okay, so Chair Cranston, you're at 15 votes so far. Whoop. Vice Chair Lowe also at 15. Commissioner Capriles is at 11. Commissioner Dempsey, 14. Commissioner Haymeyer at 12. Commissioner Schmeezing at 15. And Commissioner Yen at 14.
All right, so everybody's got at least one more vote. I heard at least a couple advocate for the tree plan. Commissioner Dempsey.
I want to vote for the trees.
Okay. And Commissioner Haymeyer?
Sure. I'll also add support for the tree master plan. And I'm really looking, I think, at Commissioner Capriles, maybe Commissioner Schmeisling, who have a left over. I just think this low inventory is so critical if we want our three efforts to be successful in the end. So consider an opportunity to be able to do things in tandem in a comprehensive way. We're always talking about that.
Second that.
So you're adding your last remaining vote to it, or are you already on that, Commissioner Thompson?
I was already on.
Okay. Commissioner Capellas.
I can be influenced. I'm going with the trees. And I also wanted to throw my hat in for the downtown pedestrian mall. And how many more did I have?
You did 11 totals, and you've used 2, so that would still leave 3 more.
Okay, let me see where I need to jump. Let me think about that for a minute.
Okay. Commissioner Ian? Are you on mute?
Thanks. I just wanted to make a pitch for something that may not happen, but I feel like it's pretty key, and that is the downtown precise plan. I don't know if Chair Cranston wants to chime in, but what I wanted to say is our downtown is fairly small. A lot of the people in the community only see it as the last 3 blocks, but I really feel like it starts at El Camino and goes to the train, and with the Moffett precise plan, hopefully it goes beyond that, and we have a second sort of downtown north with the Moffett portion. I know of some projects that are going on in the southern part of the downtown that may alter the character of our downtown a bit. For instance, I believe there's a project being proposed right on the corner, and I think it's proposing to remove the park. And what I found very interesting about our downtown,
which corner?
El Camino and Castro, I believe. I don't think it's coming to us. I don't even think I don't know where it is in the process. I've just only heard about it. So it's very little information I'm going off of. But from the preliminary reports I'm hearing is that that park may be taken. And then that there's also no setback potentially. And what I found interesting about our downtown is that at the corner of El Camino and Castro, all the buildings pull back a little bit to sort of open up that intersection and make it feel a little bit different when you're traveling along El Camino. And I don't know what the proper way to do it is, but I feel like it's important to still showcase a gateway. You know, we do that in a lot of our precise plans. We want, you know, a corner feature or something. And I think the absence of a corner is speaking volumes as well. And we already have that, but with new developments, I would hope that that continues. And that park also is got a lot of mature trees. And I just feel like if we aren't careful and look at what we have, take inventory of it, take a good look at what we want to preserve, we will lose it without even knowing it. And it'll be too late, and people will kind of go, oh my gosh, what happened? And so many cities across the country are trying so hard to rebuild the downtown on a little main street, and we already have one. And I would like to balance it out with maintaining a lot of the old charm and the character while still perhaps densifying in some areas, but doing it well, because it's hard to go backwards. So I'd like to see that move forward if any votes are out there and willing.
Commissioner Schmeising, I think you were next.
Yes, I believe I only have 1 vote left, and the inventory residential buildings in areas with lower zonings was something that I had originally highlighted and am happy to support.
Thank you.
Okay. I don't remember whether Commissioner Dempsey was first or Commissioner Capellas was first. So, Commissioner Capellas.
Thank you. I think I have 2 more votes. And so I'm going to put that on the line 33 and 36. So I believe that's to go with the the downtown, the downtown precise plan, please. And then the economic vitality strategy to support small businesses. Is that all that I have? Have I cast all my votes?
Looks like you have 1 left.
You're at 15, so you do have 1 left.
Oh my.
I'll jump over to Vice Chair Lowe while you're designing. You don't have to. You don't have to. But I'll jump over to Vice Chair Lowe while you consider.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I think I have 1 vote left, and then I would like to change one of my previous votes.
Uh-oh.
Am I at 15 right now? Okay, so I would like to add my support to the, wait, what are we at middle income?
5 votes so far.
5, okay. And then inventory of lower zoning, how are we doing in that?
I think we're at 4.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I'll put my vote on that. And then I know I'm the single vote on biodiversity. I think that is very important, but if I can add that to the comment of the Parks and Rec master plan to make sure it includes the element of biodiversity, unless that item was meant for something else. So maybe I should ask that question first. What is the biodiversity requirements? What does it apply to?
So my understanding is that this was proposed by City Council to provide guidelines or rules around landscaping, biodiversity and landscaping for proposed projects. I'm not sure if it would also include landscaping and public property. I don't have a lot of information about it, but I know that it's guidelines about landscaping requirements for projects.
Okay, so that means, go ahead.
That's the big difference. I think it's citywide, including private and public property, but the Parks and Recreation Strategic Plan would just be public.
Okay. All right. Well, unfortunately, then I don't want to change my vote on that because I do believe it's important for both public and private land to increase biodiversity. So in that case, I would add my support to the downtown precise plan instead of instead of I think lower zoning, because lower zoning is already over 4, right?
Correct. That has
Okay, so move that to the downtown precise plan.
Yeah.
okay, and that's 16.
Thank you.
Commissioner Dempsey?
Yes, in the spirit of thrift, I don't want to waste the last vote that I've got. I don't see anything else that looks like it's on the edge of becoming green. So just for the sake of making a statement, I'm going to vote for interdepartmental collaboration. I'm not really sure what that means. I'd be much more interested in hearing the details of exactly how that would be implemented, but I just wanted to raise my voice in support of more collaboration is always better.
All right, so Brittany, can you do a quick check on how we're Has everybody got their 16 in?
Okay, I have 14 for Commissioner Yun. $16 for Schmeezing. 13 for Haymeyer. 16 for Dempsey. 15 for Capriles. 16 for Lowe. And 15 for Chair Cranston.
Okay. So Commissioner Yin, so you've got a couple of votes yet. Do you want to fly them sometime?
Sure. Well, R3 has already crossed over, and it was just important to me that we had the displacement thing in place, and so I'm going to save a vote there. I wanted to go ahead and add to biodiversity. And actually, this is a question. I'm sorry, I didn't ask it earlier. The implementation of the Sustainable Action Plan 4 items, I know there's a slew of them. There are like 81 of them. And I think in city council meetings, they were talking about maybe pulling some of the ones that are doable out. So when we talk about continuing them, does that mean we're going to go forward with the ones that staff brings back as, you know, ones that are doable, or is it all 81? Do you know?
I don't know specifically, but I would imagine that staff would make recommendations in terms of which items are going to be more doable as part of that.
Okay.
You're back on mute, sorry.
Just to showcase that I feel like it's important too.
That was the continued implementation of SAP 4?
Yeah, Sustainability Action Plan.
Great.
I actually had that as one of my 16, so I will add my 16 to vote to that item. So Commissioner Capriles still has one left, and Commissioner Haymeyer has 3. Are you comfortable with what you have, or would you like to add your votes into anything? Commissioner Yin, you still have your hand up. Are you done?
Oh, sorry.
Okay. So Commissioner Haymeyer?
Yeah, I think looking at the list, I don't think any of my votes would sway things to the majority. Maybe we can just confirm there are no more at 3, I don't believe. Yeah, I think I'm fine where we are. I really thought the exercise was to get to 10, so I was a little bit more judicious, but I'm okay with all of what we have.
And Commissioner Capriles?
And I think I'm going to cast my last vote for the departmental collaboration. I think that's always helpful.
Okay. All right, so what's our final count now of greens?
So our final count is 1, 2, 3, 4, 8. So we have 18 projects that have gotten majority or consensus support.
Are we going to get our hands? Brittany and Eric, are we going to get our hands slapped for having 18?
I believe that it's okay for us to, forward this as the EPC recommendation, even though it is 18 projects, and we'll just clarify how many votes were obtained for each of these projects. That's my understanding of this process, is that would be okay.
Okay.
Can I clarify, does the 18 include the arena? I don't think that was one that I had voted for.
It does not.
Okay, so it's really 20 then, right? The housing element and...
It would be 19, right?
Well, the housing element, and I thought, there's RENA, and then there's one more that I thought we had said.
Oh, so I think that item is continue work on the housing element for the 23 to 31 RENA period. So it's one item.
It's just one. Okay, great.
And then in the staff report, there was one of the items you're looking for clarity on was the feedback on Boulevard planning. I think what I certainly heard is that just doing it as the streetscape was not supported by commissioners, but what was supported was doing it as a precise plan. Is that what you heard? Bonner Whitehone?
Yeah. Yes, that's what I heard.
Exactly.
And then the next item was the general plan action plan. Whether there was any so a lot of line items for folks to look at. Whether folks had a chance to look through them all. Any comments on any of the general plan action items? Things that should be taken off, things you didn't think, were the right priority. Vice Chair Lowe?
Thank you, Chair Cranston. I do have a couple of questions about some of the items that were noted as EPC priorities from the General Plan Action Plan, and a few that I have some questions to ask staff. I see that measure E-1.8 says building shade trees in residential development. It's marked as high priority and not started. And I'm just wondering if staff could provide some information on that.
Yeah, just give me a second. I'm getting it open.
Okay.
I don't know.
I have that marked as not started, but I think that's incorrect because I believe that this is actually currently required. It's the planting of one mature building shade tree to accompany each new single-family residential unit. So we do require one new tree to be planted with each new single-family residential unit. And selection of that tree and placement that's something that the Forestry Division works on with people building a new single-family home. So I'm not sure exactly what the parameters for that tree are, but that's something that we may just need to update.
Okay, great. I'm happy to hear that it's already required. So is that item completed or?
I can verify that, but my understanding is that it is completed. So we can definitely update that before we send this to City Council.
Okay, great. Similarly, I see that there's another high priority one that says not started, which is LUD 3.2.1, zoning ordinance update, to allow uses and development standard for each zoning district to encourage village centers, transit-oriented development, and a flexible mixed land uses where appropriate.
Which number was that again? Okay.
LUD 3.2.1.
Thank you.
So yeah, that's something that we've done kind of piecemeal as we've adopted precise plans, for El Camino and San Antonio and East Wisman and so on. We have not done it comprehensively for the citywide zoning ordinance yet. I think it's kind of taking on a citywide zoning ordinance update is a really, really big task, and it's something that we talk about periodically taking on. And it's, certainly part of the general plan action plan. But that's the only update I have on that, is that we haven't started it yet.
Because of staff time limitation.
And other priorities, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I noted one more high priority not started, which is MOB 4.4.1, update bicycle parking requirements.
So we were actually talking about doing that along with the TDM ordinance. Mm-hmm. So that may be something that we take on if the TDM ordinance progresses, then that may be something we take on along with that.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
Other questions from commissioners? I just had, I guess they're related on page 2 of the list, 5.1.3, LUD 5.1.3 and LUD 5.1.4. They're listed as medium priority, but the reason these caught my attention was that when we went through the R3 zoning, this corner is completely surrounded by R3 on all 4 sides. And so I don't know that it's, it's certainly 5.1.4 because it's residential, might fall into that, but it felt to me like it should be something that we, at the very least, flag to the team, that as they're looking at that area and the R3 zoning, that any of the things in here that are completely surrounded by R3 should maybe take into account how that would fit into these general plan priorities. So it's not, again, I'm not necessarily advocating we make it a higher priority, but it just struck me that it's like, wow, this is surrounded. So we should pay attention to it. So I guess it's just feedback that I'd request. It's not a change in the document, but a request that goes back to Martin and team as they're looking at that. Okay. So outside of that, is there consensus among the commissioners to recommend this to council? Do we need a formal vote on this? Didn't read to me like we needed a formal vote, but it wasn't entirely clear to me.
I believe we need a vote to recommend approval of the action plan report.
Okay. So then, do I have a motion from the floor to recommend the council the action plan, the general plan action plan? Commissioner Capellas?
I would recommend that the EPC recommend the 18 items that we have discussed and voted on to the council to consider to incorporate into the overall work project.
And also the general plan items, or is that separate?
Is that separate, Ms. Lee? Is that separate?
You can do it as one motion, or you could do it separately. So you could recommend that the City Council accept the 2020 General Plan Annual Progress Report and these 18 recommended items.
And with the additional comments made on the general plan.
Okay. So that's your motion. So is there a second? Commissioner Hammer?
I'll second.
Okay. Then Clerk Rand, can you take a vote, please?
Yes. Commissioner Caprillis?
Aye.
Commissioner Haymeyer?
Aye.
Commissioner Dempsey,
Aye.
Commissioner Schmeezing,
Aye.
Commissioner Yin,
Aye.
Vice Chair Lowe,
Aye.
and Chair Cranston.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you. So that concludes the study session on item 5.1. Next item on the agenda is commission staff announcements, updates, requests, and committee reports. Any updates from staff or others? Eric?
Thanks, Chair Cranston. Yeah, I know last week was the Planning Commissioners Academy. I don't have anything to report to about it, but I know a few of you went. The other thing was the next meeting for April 21st. We actually don't have anything scheduled for, so we're canceling that. And then in May, we are expecting a discussion of the downtown precise plan update. So that's what I have to report.
Hey, Eric, you mean the 21st or the 24th?
The 21st.
21st. Okay, that one's canceled.
Mm-hmm. And then May 5th is the downtown precise plan.
Any other announcements? Not? Okay, then we will adjourn at 9:03 p.m. Until the next meeting on May 5th, 2021. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.